What's happening, guys? Welcome to Slip the Jab Boxing. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Let's get into it. Right, so PEDs in boxing. Is it getting better or is it getting worse? That's what we're here to discuss. So whenever there's a big boxing match, usually there's two testing agencies that will test the fighters during their camps randomly, and post-fight and pre-fight. So in the UK, UCAD works on behalf of the British Board of Boxing Control. Usually it would be VADA, which they will usually be sourced by a promoter. So if you look at Alicia Baumgardner, she actually had Drug-Free Sport test her. So it doesn't have to be VADA, it can be any testing agency at the promoter's discretion. And I assume that the boxing commission, the local boxing commission, would also have to approve. So right now, PEDs are a big subject because we've had the whole Benn fiasco, Alicia Baumgardner, Dillian Whyte, Robert Helenius, who actually replaced Dillian Whyte and then failed anyway. So as you can see, it's a big talking point at the moment. But with all of these people getting tested and failing tests, can one say that this means the sport's clearing up, getting cleared up? If there's more people getting caught, surely that means that drugs will slowly be wiped away from the sport. So I took a look at the last 5 years of the top 10 heavyweight rankings by the Ring magazine. So each year does actually have some people that have failed drug tests in it. In 2018, you've got Tyson Fury, Dillian Whyte, Luis Ortiz, Alexander Povetkin, and Jerome Miller. That's actually half of the top 10. 2019, Fury, Whyte, Ortiz, Povetkin. 2020, Fury, Povetkin, Whyte, and Ortiz. 2021, Fury, Whyte, Ortiz. And 2022, it's Fury, Whyte, and Ortiz. And there isn't a 2023 because the year hasn't finished yet. So as you can see, it has actually been getting lower. The amount of people that are failing tests is getting lower based on these rankings anyway. Obviously, there's a whole load of other weight divisions and a lot more than just the top 10, but this is just what we're going for the sake of the video. By all means, if anybody knows of any weight divisions where it's actually increased or anything like that, please let me know in the comments. I think it's very interesting to actually mention that Luis Ortiz, Dillian Whyte, and Alexander Povetkin all failed their tests when they were coming close to having fights with Deontay Wilder while he was WBC champion. And there was also another challenger who also failed a drugs test leading up to a Deontay Wilder fight. His name was Andrzej Wawrzyk. Please forgive me if I pronounced that wrong. But the reason I mention this is because, is it possible that sometimes fighters are clean and they're actually the victim of weaponized drug testing? Now, when I say weaponized drug testing, I mean as in the idea that tests are thrown at them at inconvenient times, or that their tests are contaminated, or that in any way a manipulation has occurred within the testing agency to cause another fighter some form of disadvantage or misfortune. For example, not being able to get the financial benefits of a big fight against Deontay Wilder, for example. Now, I'm not saying that's happened in the Deontay Wilder case, but I just think it's an important thing to look at because I'm not really someone who believes in coincidences. Although, if I just take Dillian Whyte as an example, he's actually failed more than once. So who knows? It could just be that before all of these people had the biggest fights of their careers, that for the WBC belt, they took a risk. It's not exactly that unlikely. Now, just the other day, Chris Eubank Jr. had a fight with Liam Smith, and Liam Smith's trainer actually had an interview in which he said that he hadn't been tested once. Liam Smith hadn't been tested. Now, that fight was a very big fight. So if there can be fighters within big fights that are not getting tested, you can believe that in the lower ranks, there are a lot of fighters that don't get tested because testing isn't free. I mean, the promoter would need to pay for it, or the boxer would need to pay for it out of their purse. And I don't really see, if it's not mandatory to do, I'm not 100% sure of what the reason is to do it. What's your motivation to do it other than to spend money and limit yourself if you're that way inclined in believing in using PEDs? alongside that, a question needs to be asked of, okay, so if people aren't getting tested at lower levels, assuming there are drug cheats within the lower levels, there would have to be, there are drug cheats everywhere, but not everybody. But the people that take advantage of this, when they get to the higher levels, do they all of a sudden stop using PEDs? Or is it a thing where they get better at hiding them? Because obviously when you become more of an established fighter, you have more money. When you have more money, there are more options available to you. So that's one thing to consider as well. Obviously, it's really hard to know whether a boxer is taking PEDs without actually having them fail a test. I mean, accusations get thrown about all the time. Someone like Anthony Joshua, people have accused him of having a therapeutic use exemption, which means that he's actually allowed to use it. I believe it's for testosterone. However, he's never denied that, so it could be true. But if it's allowed, why is it allowed for him and not someone else? Why is it kept a secret? These are questions that people have to think about, because the idea that it's only the boxers failing that are actually taking PEDs is wrong, because there's a lot of people that are taking PEDs and they've got the right masking agents, they've got the right doctors around them. And I'm not saying that Anthony Joshua is one of those people, I'm saying that there are boxers that definitely have this. Another thing is that there are a lot of technicalities in which a boxer can get away with a failed test and none of us ever hear about it. Now, is this due to testing agencies or boxing commissions being corrupt, or is it based on them being incompetent, or is it based on them putting the fighter first? I mean, at the end of the day, it is in a fighter's best interest to keep that information private. I don't really know, but you guys let me know. But to round this up, I'd have to ask a few questions. Based on what I've said, do you think boxing is a cleaner sport? I would say probably not. I would say that it's more likely that people have learned how to deal with the cycling process of taking PEDs and taking them at the right time so that they know not to get caught, or know how not to get caught rather. And also there's other drugs that you can take to cover up what you've taken. Those could be ahead of what the testing agencies currently test, because it's quite common for a fighter to fail a PED test with one agency but still pass with all of the rest. Why is that? So it could be that boxers are better at hiding it. Are testing agencies incompetent or corrupt? I mean, that's a big question. If I would say they're a bit of both, but you guys let me know. What do you think? And most importantly, what do you think the solution is? Some people say that you should allow all drugs in boxing. Some people say it should just be a straight lifetime ban. I'm not exactly sure where I stand on the subject, but maybe one of your comments will help me think of a solution. Right, guys, I will leave it there. Hope you all have a really nice day. Take it easy.